Right. Okay. So my name is Shelley Morris. I'm the Director of Floodplain Strategies for the Kentucky chapter of the Nature Conservancy. I've been with the Conservancy since 2003, and since about 2011 have really focused the bulk of my efforts on wetland restoration, specifically in West Kentucky. And over the course of about the last year or so, that has really started broadening out to looking at wetland and floodplain conservation all across Kentucky, as well as I'm also working for the Conservancy in West Tennessee and Southern Illinois doing similar work on floodplains. So just real briefly, I'm going to give give a high level overview about the Nature Conservancy, a little bit of who we are and how we work. For those that may not be familiar with us, we are a nonprofit conservation. We've been around since 1950. The Kentucky chapter was founded in 1975. We currently have chapters in all 50 states across the country, as well as about 79 countries and territories around the world. Our mission is to conserve the lands and waters upon which all life depends. And we believe in a world where the diversity of life thrives and people act to conserve nature for its own sake and its ability to fulfill our needs and enrich our lives. So that's just, folks that may know the Nature Conservancy historically, especially in Kentucky, our roots are in land protection. Our roots are in land trust operations, basically. So protecting the last great places that used to be our byline, whether it was 10 acres here or 1,000 acres there, it was all about buying pieces of land, owning them, sometimes rolling them out to partners, but really just protecting land and stream quarters and that sort of thing. However, over time, we have really evolved to try to tackle larger issues and to work at a higher scale. And to that end, our approach and our partnerships have broadened along with that evolution. These are some things that I'm very proud about the Conservancy and how we work. This is how we work, and these are really some of our core values. We're non-confrontational. We really want to work with anybody that wants to work with us, that we can find some common ground with to try to address issues. We try to be very pragmatic. All of us working in conservation and with natural resources, we know that we have a lot of really challenging issues to try to tackle. So we try to do that in a pragmatic way. We are a science-based organization. We are nonpartisan. We work on both sides of the aisle, and again, just wherever we can find common ground with people. And we are very much try to be solution-oriented in our work. So whether it's federal, state, local partners, whether it's landowners, other NGOs, you name it, we've worked with them, up to and including large corporations and businesses that we can find common ground with. This slide is a bit dated, but just to give folks kind of a sense of the global reach of the Nature Conservancy. We have over 1 million members. We employ a lot of scientists. Our current staff numbers, we have over 4,000 across the globe. I'm not sure what it is in the U.S. Here in Kentucky, we have about 15 full-time staff members. You can see that we've worked with our partners across the globe to protect a lot of land. We do own a lot of nature preserves, also working in marine and coastal areas and working with river protection. So just kind of a real quick look at some of the work that we do across the globe. Okay, so now to bring it down to the Kentucky level, this series of slides, I'm going to kind of work from east to west and just kind of give you a sense of what our current priority projects are, where we are focusing most of our efforts now and why. And I just sort of wanted to make a blanket statement before going into this. Steve had mentioned, when giving this presentation, think about the watershed coordinators and other partners that may be on the presentation, and when should folks reach out to us on what kind of projects and at what time? And the bottom line is we are a very partnership-oriented organization. We love to work with partners. I think all of us can, acknowledge that we get more done together than we do alone. Everybody is limited in their capacity and their, whether that be people or funding or what have you. So the bottom line is we are always looking for partnerships, whether it be through the watershed coordinators or other partners. So just I think the main thing is to just sort of be familiar with the kind of work that we're doing in the state and think about how the watershed coordinators or any other partner that may be listening to this might be able to be a part of these projects. Again, whether it's through providing matching funds, whether it's through providing capacity, or just brainstorming and planning and collaboration. So that's just sort of my blanket statement about working together. We want to work with folks. So you can see here on this map, we do have a presence pretty much from the Mississippi River to the mountains of East Kentucky. Some of the little circular pictures that you see on here are some of our flagship reserves across the state that you may have heard of, such as Davis Bend or Mantle Rock. Excuse me. We have the Palisades Preserves and Bad Branch over in the mountains. We currently have full-time staff in the Appalachian Mountains of Eastern Kentucky, in our Louisville area, and in Western Kentucky. That is currently where we have full-time on-the-ground staff, and then the rest of our staff kind of help support that work across the state. Okay, so going sort of from east to west, I'm sure it's no news to anybody on this call that the Eastern Kentucky, the Central Appalachian Mountains are a biodiversity hotspot as well as a climate corridor. Just over the past couple of years, we've been able to hire full-time staff in Eastern Kentucky. His name is Will Bowling, and he is working on our project in the Central Appalachian Mountains. We're working to bring voluntary forest carbon markets to Eastern Kentucky in order to enhance the amount of land protection that we can do, as well as management, and to the end of trying to mitigate climate change and other pressures, as well as to bring some economic assistance to these communities in Eastern Kentucky. One of our biggest and most recent projects in Eastern Kentucky is the Attaya and Highlands property protection project that you may have heard of. Combination over 250,000 acres in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia that's denoted by those red and orange polygons here. So we're really trying to do large-scale land protection in Eastern Kentucky to try to protect these important tracts of remaining forest land that are so important for biodiversity. In metropolitan Louisville, you may have heard of the Greenheart Project. This is one where we are working to do a large-scale reforestation project in urban Louisville in order to address the heat island situation, as well as to try to, a lot of this is, it's basically a science project to see how urban regreening affects health and livelihood, as well as things like the urban heat situation, stormwater, and air quality. So we're working in urban Louisville to do regreening. Green River, on the Green River, we have trying to take out obsolete dams in order to secure clean drinking water, restore river flows, and enhance habitat. Everybody here that knows about aquatic systems in Kentucky knows how important the Green River watershed is. The Nature Conservancy has a long history in the green, both in terms of land protection as well as working on these sustainable environmental flows, trying to have as much of a linear connected piece of the Green River as possible, and taking out these obsolete dams is one of the main objectives to that end. We now have a full-time director of agriculture that just came on within the last couple of months. His name is Zach Luttrell. He's actually based out of Jackson, Tennessee. He is a shared position between Kentucky and Tennessee Nature Conservancy, and he's going to be working across the state to work on soil health, relationship building with large agribusiness, and also to be working towards market-based solutions around sustainable agriculture. So everybody here knows that, sustainable agriculture, good best management practices in the agricultural setting, that is a benefit to water quality. So this, I could really see this being a place that the watershed coordinators may want to engage with this aspect of our work in terms of how it could positively benefit water quality in these different important places that we're working in the state. We also, over the last year, have hired a director of external affairs. Her name is Heather Majors. She works out of our Lexington office. And this is really exciting. She is the first person that we've had in this position. And a lot of what the Nature Conservancy does relies on the ability to have strong relationships with elected officials and to be able to, lobby for certain different bills and policies that come up. So we have Heather now working to help try to navigate some of those external affairs and government relations needs that we have here in the state. We do have a strong fire program across the state. Chris Miner is our director of fire and working on fire and stewardship, not only on our own preserves, but also especially working with mainly our federal partners in the Daniel Boone and at Cumberland Gap and in places like that over in eastern Kentucky to work on land management to improve habitat. This year, especially with COVID, that really hit hard right in the middle of burn season. So that was a lot of plans were dampened for this year, but generally speaking, we're able to get a lot done in the way of fire management. Okay, now working to the west, this is the area that I cover. This is where I've been working since about 2011. And I'll try to be brief here, but we have been working with the Natural Resources Conservation Service in this polygon that you see here on the map. That's the combined watershed of Mayfield Creek, O'Brien Creek, and Fire to Shea in far western Kentucky. These are three direct tributary watersheds to the Mississippi River. Very important in terms of there's a large amount of agriculture in this watershed. However, there's also a large amount of intact bottomland hardwood forest and wetland forest left in this watershed, as well as several pretty sizable chunks of state-owned forest in here to anchor reforestation efforts off of. There's some rare and threatened species, as well as these watersheds are really high contributors of nutrients to the Mississippi River. So we've been working in this area within our CS since 2011 on a large-scale wetland restoration project using the Wetland Reserve Program and the Wetland Enhancement Partnership, which basically these are farm bill dollars that go through NRCS directly to the landowner for easement, purchase, and protection. And since 2011, we've been able to work with NRCS to enroll over 7,000 acres in this area. Everything that you see that's in a red polygon is in this NRCS wetland program. It's been over 26 million in funding. This project has brought over 1 million trees to this area as part of reforestation efforts. So this has been the bread and butter of our wetland and floodplain work in West Kentucky. However, as I mentioned earlier, we are now trying to back up and take a more holistic look at the state, other places that we might be able to do similar work such as this, as well as working on floodplain restoration for flood impact reduction. So I realize we're coming upon the top of the hour, and that's the end of my presentation.